Stop scrolling. This isn't a coincidence. It's a divine summons. God is speaking, and He's not whispering anymore. He's tearing through the noise of this world with a voice meant for you. Not your neighbor, not your pastor. You, the one who's been wondering why life has felt like warfare dressed in silence. You thought you were buried, but heaven says you were planted. You called it delay, but God called it divine preservation. You've been hidden, not forgotten, marked, but misunderstood. And now, your scroll is being unsealed. There's a sound echoing through the wilderness of your life. It's not a sound the world can hear. It's the sound of your name reverberating through eternity. And here, inside echoes of the chosen, you're not just watching a video. You're standing at the edge of your next divine instruction. He made me into a polished arrow and concealed me in His quiver. That's what this season has been. Concealment before commissioning. Preparation before placement. Now the quiver is opening, and you are the arrow. Don't you dare look away, because what's about to be revealed in this message may explain every betrayal, every delay, every battle you've survived. Stay until the end, because by the time this scroll finishes unfolding, you won't just know who you are, you'll remember why you were sent. Divine marking, the evidence you were set apart. Before the world saw you, heaven sealed you. Before your voice was known, your name was whispered in the throne room. Being chosen is not a reward. It is a responsibility wrapped in fire. To be chosen means you were pulled from the crowd, not for applause, but for assignment. The attacks that came against you weren't random. They were aimed at your scroll. Every rejection was a signal. Every betrayal was a marker. Not of who you were, but of what you carry. Joseph was marked by a dream, and the moment he opened his mouth, warfare began. Not because he was arrogant, but because the enemy always attacks what carries heaven's blueprint. You, too, have carried something you didn't fully understand. A knowing, a pull, a pattern of resistance wherever you try to plant peace. You weren't delayed, you were disguised. And heaven has waited for this moment, for your spirit to recognize its seal. Some call it bad luck. God calls it bloodline disruption. You were born to break cycles, not repeat them. That's why comfort never held you, and why the old wineskins rejected you. You've been wondering why doors close when others are celebrated. But favor for the chosen doesn't look like popularity. It looks like protection. The mark on you is ancient, and hell has known it longer than you have. The world tried to name you overlooked, but heaven already named you, set apart. And now, the seal is starting to glow. The silence was strategic. Heaven's delay is not denial. You cried out and heard nothing. You knocked, and the door stayed shut. But the silence wasn't God's absence. It was divine surveillance. Moses spent 40 years in Midian, holding a staff instead of a sword. Not because he failed, but because he was being reformed into a man who could carry fire without burning out. You felt forgotten, but you were being fortified. In the silence, God was training your ears to hear the frequency no one else can discern. He silenced the world around you so you could finally detect the movement of angels. He withheld answers to birth revelation. You weren't ignored, you were incubated, hidden in plain sight, like David in the fields, slaying lions in secret before facing giants in daylight. Delay is not punishment. It is prophecy under construction. And if you listen closely, you'll hear the echo of your own prayers returning to you in a voice deeper than your memory. Because God never said no. He said, "Not yet, because what I'm building in you takes longer than what they settled for. And what you thought was waiting was actually weaving, a destiny crafted in silence. The fire and the forge. Betrayal, as heaven's chisel God, doesn't just use fire. He speaks through it. And if you've walked through betrayal, loss, or the slow bleed of hope, You've heard his voice in the flame. Job was not punished. He was prepared. His story wasn't about loss. It was about what remains after the fire touches everything. What broke you didn't bury you. It revealed what cannot be burned. The friendships that collapsed, the family that never saw you, the love that left, they were not failures. They were chisels, tools in the hands of the refiner. God does not waste pain. He weaponizes it. He takes the ashes and forges swords. He takes the weeping and hammers out glory. You weren't ruined. You were reforged. Joseph's pit became Pharaoh's palace, but only after the fire of betrayal tested his vision and tempered his pride. So, if it felt like God allowed too much, it's only because He plans to build through you what can never fall again. This is not your breaking, it's your blacksmithing. And your scars are not your shame, they're heaven's signature. When chosen ones resist the call, the cost of silence. To carry oil and refuse the flame is spiritual sabotage. God will never force you to rise, but to reject His voice is to accept bondage dressed as safety. Jonah ran, and the sea roared back, not to destroy him, but to redirect him. God's wrath is not petty, it is protective. Because when a chosen one delays obedience, destinies downstream are drowned in silence. You are not the only one attached to your assignment. Your yes is someone else's breakthrough. Your surrender is someone else's deliverance. This is why the resistance intensified, because your hesitation became a holding pattern in the spirit realm. And heaven won't let you stay muted. You weren't being punished. You were being pursued. Like Saul, chosen but stubborn, anointed yet misaligned. His crown was not stolen by man. It was forfeited by delay. God's grace covers mistakes, but it cannot cover apathy. So hear this as a warning, not in fear, but in fire. You are too chosen to keep pretending you're not. And if you keep silencing your roar, God will raise it from your ashes. You carry authority, the crown. Within the chaos, your crown is not coming. It's already on your spirit. You just haven't recognized the weight of it yet. Authority is not about position. It's about permission, and heaven has already granted you access, not just to speak, but to shift. You were not called to echo opinions. You were sent to reverberate heaven. Esther didn't become a queen when she wore the crown. She became a queen the moment she stepped into risk. You carry the same oil, the oil of decision, to rise when it's easier to remain quiet, to speak when the room demands silence. You weren't voiceless. You were waiting to remember your roar. God doesn't give authority to the loudest. He gives it to the aligned. You are a throne room echo in a world full of noise, and you don't need a title to walk in dominion. You just need to believe what God already said about you, because the authority you carry isn't earned. It was inherited, and it's time to wear it, not as a trophy, but as a mantle. Heaven's assignment. What you were born to build, you were not created just to survive this life. You were sent to construct something eternal. Inside you is blueprinted architecture, an assignment from before time etched into your spirit by the finger of God. This is why nothing else fulfills you, why 9 to 5 feels like confinement, why average burns like acid on your soul. You weren't born to copy. You were born to create. Nehemiah didn't build a wall for safety. He built a wall for worship, so the name of God would echo again in a place of ruin, and so must you. You are called to build what the world forgot and restore what religion abandoned. You weren't restless, you were pregnant. That stirring inside you isn't dissatisfaction. It's divine discomfort, the pre-labor pain of vision unbirthed. What's been breaking in your life is not sabotage. It's the sound of construction. God is preparing to unveil what only your hands can finish. The rise of the remnant. You are not alone. You've walked alone for so long, you started believing isolation was your identity. But in every generation there is a remnant, and they are rising. You've heard the same whisper others are hearing. You've wept the same hidden tears. And even now, something in your spirit leaps, because it recognizes family in these words. You're not crazy. You're not too much. You are not too late. Elijah thought he was the last, until God said, I have reserved 7,000 more. This is your 7,000. Echoes of the Chosen is not just a channel. It's a prophetic gathering, a convergence of those who carry the strange fire, those who will not bow, those who've been hidden until now. You weren't isolated. You were being identified, because when God raises a remnant, He first removes the crowd. And now that you've heard this call, you can never unhear it. Echo activation. What you carry must be released. Everything in you has been prepared for this moment. The silence, the fire, the delay, the anointing, all converging here. But this isn't the end. It's the release. You were never meant to just receive this word. You were meant to echo it. Like Mary, who carried the promise of a kingdom inside her womb, you too carry something divine, aching to be born. What you've received in secret must now move in power. This world doesn't just need another message. It needs a move of God. And that move is you. You weren't just called. You were commissioned. This is your sacred announcement. Heaven is no longer waiting. The scroll is open, the seal is broken, and your echo must now awaken nations. You thought you were breaking, but heaven was unveiling. The shaking wasn't your collapse. It was the cracking open of what was hidden inside you all along. You were not waiting for a move of God. You are the move of God, wrapped in skin, carried through fire and sent as a living scroll. Chosen one. Your silence has been heard. Your wounds have been weighed. And your waiting has reached its appointed hour. You have stood in the shadows long enough. Now the oil drips from your scars. The fire speaks your name. And the heavens lean in, because you are rising. You have been marked. You have been forged. And now you are being sent. This is your moment to respond. Not with emotion, but with alignment. Not with hype, but with holy obedience. If this word pierced your spirit, comment 777 below as a sacred signal to the heavens that you are ready. Write what confirmed you, what shook you, what part felt like it was written in your own soul. Let your echo be heard, because someone else's awakening may be hidden in your response. And if you know, deep in your spirit, that this message was not random, but a divine appointment, then subscribe to Echoes of the Chosen. This is not just a channel. It's a remnant gathering, a scroll unsealing, a sanctuary for the rising ones. You are not alone. You are the next echo.